I am a part of a dynamic research team consisting of Dr. Kenny Hendrickson, an associate professor of public administration and social sciences and director of the Master of Public Administration program at UVI. Also on our team is Dr. Anna Clark, Director of Practicum Education for the Social Work Department at UVI. We also have the pleasure of having Ms. Debbie Joseph, Administrative Specialist in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, join us. Today's webinar is intended for frontline government workers in the U.S. Virgin Islands. A frontline government worker is defined as public sector personnel who have a direct role in providing to the needs of citizens through public service. In 2021, many of you received correspondence via email to participate in a research study conducted by the University of the Virgin Islands. The purpose of this study was to determine if burnout affected your organization, specifically employees on the front line, in particular following Hurricanes Irma, Maria, and also during COVID-19. In total, 9 agencies and organizations of the Virgin Islands government participated, namely Schneider Regional Medical Center, Governor Wang F. Louis Hospital and Medical Center, Virgin Islands Department of Human Services, Virgin Islands Bureau of Motor Vehicles, VI Department of Planning and Natural Resources, Virgin Islands Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, Virgin Islands Fire Service, Virgin Islands Police Department, and Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency. Based on your responses, our study found that frontline government workers were overwhelmed by larger caseloads, longer lines, and harsher realities. For employees, this is a recipe for disaster. In the long run, it will lead to burnout. In our study, we uncovered that emotional exhaustion was the greatest indicator of burnout among U.S. Virgin Islands frontline government workers. With our statistical findings received, our team found it necessary to create appropriate mechanisms to tackle burnout locally. Our research also uncovered high levels of personal accomplishments and compassion satisfaction among frontline government workers in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This was an excellent discovery. This meant that despite the difficult work environment due to Hurricanes Irma, Maria, and COVID-19, employees were willing to exceed their work obligations in the name of helping others. We applaud you for delivering above and beyond, especially during disasters. Nationally, the literature suggests that burnout is not necessarily a solvable problem, but rather an issue that has to be managed. This is done primarily through the improvement of an individual's coping skills. Our research team applied and was approved for the continuation grant from the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado, Boulder. And this was supported through the CDC. We have done extensive work to uncover what best practices will ensure that VI employees are able to appropriately cope and address burnout. Today, we have 4 outstanding experts who were specifically selected because of their authority in their fields. I am certain that you will leave today's webinar with a greater level of insight and perspective on not only how to better handle stresses on the job, but also how to improve your outlook on your own life. During our presentations, please feel free to use the chat feature to ask questions or to share your comments. We will get to as many questions as we possibly can during the question segment. We will also add a feedback link into the chat box after each presentation. We ask that you participate at the conclusion of each session. Please engage in the discussions and embrace the message the speakers present. At this time, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Anna Clark, who will introduce our first session and speaker. Dr. Clark.
Good morning, everyone. As frontline government employees, you basically have kept the territory running. And without a doubt, your actions have kept the doors of the government open. And during a very challenging time, I may say, especially during the pandemic, hurricanes, what have you, you have been the ones who have kept the government running. So while you're providing services to everyone else and the territory depends on your services, attention must be given to you, the employees. Hence, our webinar and our first speaker. Our session is entitled Creating a More Resilient You, presented by Dr. Carolyn Allen. We are thrilled to have Dr. Allen this morning. She received her PhD in African American Studies from Temple University in 1997. She also received her Master of Arts in African American Studies from Temple University in 1994, and a Master of Social Service degree from Bryn Mawr College in 1986. Dr. Allen has 28 years of teaching experience at the university level in brick and mortar, as well as online programs. She is an associate professor of social work at the University of the Virgin Islands. Previous to UVI, she held positions that included core faculty at Capella University and associate professor of social work at Our Lady of the Lake University, OLLU, in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. Allen has a personal and academic commitment to diversity studies. She has delivered a number of professional presentations and developed courses in this area. Let's welcome Dr. Allen.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Dr. Clark, Dr. Francis, Dr. Hendrickson, Debbie Joseph for inviting me here today to speak. I feel like I'm in the perfect place to be talking to frontline government workers. As Dr. Clark shared, I was a social worker before joining faculty years ago. I said 27, but it's been a long time that I've been faculty. I've been at UVI. This is my first year at UVI. So I know a little something about stress, both from transitioning jobs, from living here in the VI. My husband and I have been here for 13 years and are settled and happy. You know, son is going to go to UVI next year. So we are embracing the territory. I was here through those hurricanes. I was delighted with Dr. Francis's introduction of you all as workers, that you have been resilient. This is a topic that's interested me my whole career. So before being on faculty years ago, a long time ago, I was a social worker. I worked in medical social work, in drug and alcohol, in mental health. So I know the burdens of that too. So this is why I feel like I'm in the perfect place to talk to you all, because I've been thinking about resilience for years and was interested to put this presentation together and bring it to you to talk some about resilience. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what I have planned. Give me 1 second here. Okay, this one, this. So coping with burnout, creating a more resilient you. There are 4 things I want to share with you today. One, the numbers on stress and burnout in the workplace. Dr. Francis already discussed the study that was done locally. I'm going to look at another study, a couple of studies, bigger studies, and talk about them some. define resilience, which you all have already demonstrated, do an assessment of your resilience, a short one, and then creating even a more resilient you, the Aikigaya. And I'll talk about that some as we get towards the end. I do want you all to participate with me because I know you have experience with stress at work, burnout, and resilience. So the ways I want you to participate are a few. One, I'm going to pull up some polls as we move forward. So I ask you to respond to the polls. I would love if you were busy in the chat. No, I can't see the chat, but maybe someone else can help me keep up with the chat and any questions that you have. You're going to need pencil and paper or something to record, your phones, however you record notes, because to do the assessment, it's short, just a few questions, but you're going to need to record the numbers and then do just a smidgen of math to add up your scores. And that's just for you. That's not something that will be shared. So, feel free to be honest. And then we'll do that last exercise. So 4 things. Talk about the numbers for stress and burnout. Talk about the definitions of resilience. Talk about your assessment, your personal assessment of your own resilience, and then creating a more resilient you. So this guy says, this is how you look and feel when you had a bunch of work to do on Friday afternoon, but you decided to save it until Monday, and now it's Monday, right? So I thought that this was a perfect meme to capture what burnout is, right? That tight-lipped, oh God, it's work again, feeling, that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. The World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome resulting from chronic work stress that's not successfully managed. But we experience burnout as sore, stiff neck, those sore shoulders that oh God, it's Sunday night and I gotta go to work Monday and I don't feel like it, that fatigue, being depleted at work, being negative at work, burnout. So I am curious to know what you all know about burnout and job stress. So here's the quick polls about to come up. They're just 4 questions to check your knowledge on it. This is not, even though I'm a professor and I do love a test and a quiz, no grading for this. This is just to see how you experience burnout, what you think the numbers are. So first question. According to the Gallup poll in 2022, just last year, what percentage of workers report their job was very or extremely stressful? And if Ms. Joseph could pull up the poll, the possibilities for you to answer are 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%. So not sure how many people we have in the room. I hope you are close to your device, be it a phone, a laptop, a desktop, whatever you're working on, your iPad, and you can punch in the number for the poll. I want to get as many people answering before I move forward and tell you. And again, no judgment, you're your best guess. According to the Gallup poll in 2022, what percentage of workers reported their job was very or extremely stressful? And if we have enough responses to see what people think. And I give you another moment to click your poll, and then I'll tell you what it is. But I'm interested in your perspectives on what you might think it is. Is it 20%, 40%, 60%? Ms. Joseph, can we pull up the responses to the poll?
We can, I'm seeing numbers still coming in. I
Okay.
will,
All right,
okay, so I'm gonna stop the poll and share the results.
thank you. All right, so we have 3% of 20%. People think that's way higher than that. Our largest one is 80%, with 44 people who participated saying 80%. So we think people feel very stressed out. What the Gallup poll showed was that it was 40%. 40% of the people responding to the Gallup poll, this is a worldwide poll, said that they were stressed at that's the important thing, very or extremely stressed at work. That same poll showed that 80% say they experienced some stress at work. So, if you're thinking some stress, okay, very stressed, that was 40%. Of the people who said that they were stressed at work, almost half of them said they needed help managing their stress at work, right? So that's why it's important to have trainings like this, that need help managing their stress at work. Of the people who reported that they were stressed at work, almost half of them said their coworkers need help with managing stress at work. So even if they said it's not me, but everybody else in this place is like, they need some help, So, and 25% of the people responding to the Gallup poll said that they felt like screaming or yelling at work. They were so stressed, that like feeling. And I think it said about 14% said they felt like hitting somebody at work, even though they didn't. So I'm going to move to the next one. According to a Gallup poll in 2022, same poll, what percentage of workers describe work as the number one stressor in their life? That 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. And we pull up that poll again. Again, according to this recent Gallup poll, this is the most recent one, 2023 is not out yet. This is an international study. What percentage of workers describe work as the number one stressor in their life? 25, 50, 75, 100. How quick can you get to your device and respond and hit that submit button so we can keep the poll going? I have 4 questions. And again, no judgment, your best guess. Once we get there, we'll pull up the poll and see what people think. I'll tell you what Gallup found and then talk about that a little bit. How about one more moment to respond if you have not hit that submit button? Is it 25%, 50%, 75%? Feel like a game show host. One more minute. We're going to spin the wheel. Joseph, can we pull up our results, see what folks thought? Okay. Majority of us thought, no. Thought that it was 50%, 47% of folks. Okay, again, an overestimate is actually 25%. The interesting part of this is that women said that more often said they were stressed than men. For women in the Gallup poll, it was 62% said that they were stressed at work. Men wasn't much behind, it was 52%. So, 10% more, but still women experience or report experiencing more stress. And that can be because women not only are mastering the workplace, but also might have family obligations, being pulled in different directions, caring for parents, taking care of kids, other obligations, maybe working multiple jobs, etc. Going to move to the next one. According to Gallup poll in 2022, what percentage of workers felt emotionally detached while at work? We could pull up the poll for that. Possibilities are feeling emotionally detached at work. That's 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%. What do you think? Again, if you could respond to the poll, hit that submit button, and I'll tell you what Gallup found. Felt emotionally detached. This is like that guy in that first meme, you know, like work. No, I'm not into this. I don't want to do this today. Tired. Feeling emotionally detached in the workplace. 20%, 40%, 60%, or 80%. Give you another moment to submit. This is like, you know, ding, 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 and then we'll pull up the poll and see what you all thought. Hope you're near your devices. Okay, Ms. Joseph, why don't you pull it up? Let's see. 40%. This one, we think 40%. This one that you underestimated a bit. It's 60%. 60% of workers report feeling emotionally detached in the workplace. 62% of people say they end their workday with a stiff neck, sore neck. That's, you know, burnout, stress. 34% say they have difficulty sleeping because of work stress, that they can't rest at night. 30% reported back pain. So if you are having any of these signs of burnout, symptoms of burnout, common. This is a common human experience. As Dr. Francis said, this is not magic wand, get rid of it. This is how to cope with it, how to deal with it. Because it's an aspect of the human condition. I'm going to do that last one. According to ZPIA, what percentage of workers report general stress? Is that greater than 20%, greater than 40%, greater than 60%, greater than 80%? See if you're any faster with your clicking and your devices here. You could respond to the poll and hit submit. I see a great question in the chat. I wonder if the results will be the same for the USVI government workers. Excellent query. I hope we get to talk about that some when we get to the discussion. Again, this is according to ZPIA, what percentage of workers report general stress at work? I think it's greater than 20, greater than 40, greater than 60, greater than 80. If Ms. Joseph, can you pull up our, oh, wait, I should give you another minute. This is my 1 moment warning or something. If you're not near your device, click it quick, sip that coffee, click your device. And Ms. Joseph, could you pull up our results? Okay, so this time we think as a collective, it's greater than 60%. So, this is a bit of a trick question because I told you that in the beginning that Gallup said it was for general stress, 80%. They think so too. The other research study also found greater than 80% of workers report some general stress at work. I underlined it, told you twice, because I want you to see that it's just true. Stress in the workplace is part of the work experience. So the issue becomes, if you're experiencing it, you're not alone. How do you cope with it? What do you do about it? I'll add that the Gallup poll found that the feeling detached from work has increased in the last couple of years. 45% of workers say that they were extremely affected by COVID. As Dr. Francis said, we in the VI not only dealt with COVID and lockdown, but we were just coming off of recovery from 2 Cat 5 hurricanes. So if you are feeling or having signs of stress leading to burnout, it's common, it's understandable, given the context. But I'm going to move on. I feel like my numbers are all bad news. So here's Zendaya, a little joke. My mind is like an internet browser. 17 tabs are open, 4 of them are frozen, and I don't know where the music is coming from. This one, when I saw this meme, it resonated with me because this is how I stress at work or burnout. I do often have tabs open, and then I have moments of like, wait, what am I working on again? Like I had a brilliant thought, where did it go? I'm the one who walks in the kitchen and goes like, wait, what did I come in here for again? You know, because I'm thinking multiple things. So burnout can be like that first meme, procrastination, stiffness, sourness. It can also be kind of confusion, overwhelmed. If you have felt any of these things, there's a reason for it. The top
Social
5
worker.
most stressful.
Social worker.
I'm sorry? The top 5 most stressful jobs: social worker, human service worker, some kind of social service provider, teacher, police officer, healthcare professional, prison officer. In other words, us, people who interface with the public, report their jobs as most stressful. For social workers, human service professionals, it's the long hours, the lack of resources, the compassion, empathy when working with clients, maybe having defensive clients, the heavy caseloads lead to stress, burnout. Teachers, they work not only during their school hours, but also prepare things at home, grade papers, worry about their students, worry about the curriculum, stress. Police officers may be different. The stress of different schedules, interfacing with the public, stress, long hours. Healthcare professionals, heavy caseload, heavy responsibilities, care and empathy, long hours, stress. Prison officers, same thing, heavy caseloads, long hours, swing shifts, stress. The other thing that all of these positions have in common is secondary stress. We see trauma. In all these positions, we see human beings who are going through a few things, suffering, accidents, medical problems, emotional problems, and we experience that secondary trauma. So this might also account for why these positions report such a high level of stress and burnout. How does it manifest? Moodiness, anxiety, unhappiness. This is me. The forgetfulness, that's me. Distress, nausea. There's somebody who experiences that. Loneliness, procrastination. That was like that first meme. Substance abuse, weight gain, negativity, hopelessness, stress, nervousness, lethargy, anger, dissatisfaction, isolation, depression, dizziness, etc. If you see yourself among these, then you may have experienced stress, unmanaged, that led to burnout. I see in the chat, EMT workers 24/7, no days off, work before, during, and after stressful event. This is so true. The impetus, the reasons that we are stressed and experience burnout are real. They're real. We know they're coming our way. The issue becomes what to do, how to cope. So, I have to keep on sprinkling in a joke or two because he talked about stress stresses me out. So I saw this meme. Stressed is a dessert spelled backwards, like it was like, that's never thought about that before. But you see, like if you turn it around backwards, I'm going to show my age, but there used to be a talk show, Arsenio Hall, and he'd say things that make you go, So this is one. When I saw this meme, I was like, So how do you turn that around and make stress like desserts? Well, there's resilience. So resilience is your capacity to adapt to stress in a healthy way and bounce back. Like a plant growing in concrete, take that little bit of dirt, little bit of water, and continue to grow, thrive, bloom, blossom. What are the characteristics of resilience? Perseverance, equanimity, meaningfulness, self-reliance, existential understanding of groupness and aloneness. So let me take them one at a time. So perseverance, everybody on this call has probably already done it, persevered. You're here at a training despite having likely experienced some stress or burnout in your workplace, and still you're here training, trying to thrive, trying to improve. That's perseverance. Equanimity, that is a perspective of some balance in your life that understands that yes, there's stress, but there are also blessings. Yes, there's stress, but there are also goodness and joy, and you can have that balance and see both at the same time without totalizing, everything's awful and terrible. My son was young, there was a book that, I forget what it was called, something like, my no good, very bad, terrible, miserable day. So that would be totalizing, like thinking everything's wrong. Equanimity, part of having resilience, is seeing both at the same time. You can see and acknowledge this is a challenging situation, but yet and still I see good things around me. Meaningfulness is seeing the bigger picture, having some purpose in your direction and being able to understand the things that are happening around you and understand bigger picture purpose. Self-reliance is having confidence in yourself that you can navigate the problems that you're experiencing. Existential understanding of aloneness or groupness, these all kind of go together, knit together. This one, the existential understanding of aloneness and groupness, has to do with understanding that there are challenges and issues that you can look for support, groupness, people experience together, and then there are challenges that are yours, that you're carrying, and that's just the human condition. That's not, you're not being punished, it's not like some freaky thing, it just is. This is how we live. Understanding these or having these 5 characteristics help your resilience. So, how resilient are you? This is when I need you to have something to record on. And again, this is not that I'm going to ask you to share, but for your own information. This is a modified resilience assessment from Cooper, Flint, Taylor, and Pearson from 2014. I'm going to present 8 questions. It's a Likert scale going from 1 to 4. I'm going to ask you to record your score for each question, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then light math, some addition. So if you are ready, I know you guys are, quick with your devices, but you need something to record this if you want to capture your score, because you're going to have to add it. And there are 8 questions and all those numbers. I don't know if you'll be able to hold them in your head. So on your tablet, paper and pencil. First question. Failures are hard to forget and successes are hard to remember. Failures are hard to forget, and tongue-tied, and successes are hard to remember. Do you, 1, strongly agree with that for yourself? 2, agree with that? 3, disagree with that? 4, strongly disagree with that? Do you record your answer to number 1 as either 1, strongly agree with that statement, 2, agree with that statement, 3, disagree with that statement, 4, strongly disagree with that statement? Ready to move forward? Anybody give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know I can go to the next one? Responses to number 1. Hope you got it. Going to move on to the second question. Two, when given a new task, I'm confident I'll succeed. When given a new task, I'm confident that I'll succeed. Do you, 1, strongly disagree with that? 2, disagree with that? 3, agree with that? 4, strongly agree with that? Again, for question 2, if you record your answer to it as 1, 2, 3, or 4, 1, strongly disagree with that statement. When I'm given a new task, I'm confident that I'll succeed. 2, disagree with that. 3, agree with that. 4, strongly agree with that. Now you have answers to 1 and 2. I want you to sum those two. Add that your answer for number 1 and answer for number 2 together, and you will have a score somewhere between 2 and 8. That's column 1, first section. You don't have to put your answers up in the chat. I want you to get them for yourself. So I want you to get a sum for the first question. Second question, your sum will be somewhere between the number 2 and the number 8, and that's category 1 or column 1. Moving on to the third question. 3, when one attempt fails, I learn from it and change my approach next time. When one attempt fails, I learn from it and change my approach next time. Do you, 1, strongly disagree with that? 2, disagree with that? 3, agree with that? 4, strongly agree with that? 1, 2, 3, or 4, strongly disagree with that? Disagree with that? Agree with it? Or strongly agree with that? Again, if you write down your answer to number 3 as 1, 2, 3, or 4, record it for yourself. And I am going to move to the next one. Question 4, I have strategies in place for dealing with stress. Do you, 1, strongly disagree with that? 2, disagree with that? 3, agree with that? 4, strongly agree with that? I have strategies in place for dealing with stress. Do you strongly disagree with that? Disagree with that? 3, agree with that? 4, strongly agree with that? Again, I want you to take these two questions, question 3 and question 4, and add your scores together. You will have a score somewhere between the number 2 and the number 8. That's the second column or second category. Take your answers for number 3 and number 4, add them together. Your score will be somewhere between 2 and 8. Write it down. Moving on. I don't have people at work who I can speak to about issues in the workplace. I don't have people at work who I can speak to about issues in the workplace. Do you, 1, strongly agree with that? 2, agree with that? 3, disagree with that? 4, strongly disagree with that? This is question 5. Answer 1, 2. Is that a question? No. 1, strongly agree. 2, agree. 3, disagree. 4, strongly disagree. Write down your answer for 5. 6, I can discuss my job and its challenges with my family and close friends. 1, strongly disagree. 2, disagree. 3, agree. 4, strongly agree. You want to write down your answers for yourself so you can get a total score at the end. You're going to score yourself for this question 6, 1, 2, 3, or 4. As before, please add this number for question 5 and 6 together to get your score, which will be somewhere between 2 and 8 for this category. You're going to add your answer to 5 and 6 together to get your score somewhere between 2 and 8. Question 7. I have strong goals that are clear in my mind. Do you strongly disagree with that? Disagree with that? Agree with that? Strongly agree with that? I have clear goals. I have strong goals that are clear in my mind, rather. 1, strongly disagree. 2, disagree. 3, agree. 4, strongly agree. That's 7. You write down your number, record it yourself because you're going to have to add it later. Last question. Sometimes I question my commitment to my job. 1, strongly agree with that. 2, agree with that. 3, disagree with that. 4, strongly disagree with that. So give yourself a score for that. 1, 2, 3, or 4, based on how you're feeling. You are going to add 7 and 8 together to get a total for that column or category. Your total is going to be somewhere between 2 and 8. Light math. So now you have 4 categories, each with a score somewhere between 2 and 8. I want you to add all 4 of those categories together and get your total score. So your total score is somewhere between 8 and 32. Low resilience would be between 8 and 15. Moderate resilience would be between 16 and 23. You're on a resilience team if you're between 24 and 32. So you can, get some insight into yourself. Where are you in terms of your resilience? How resilient are you? I believe from what Dr. Francis said, we probably have plenty of folks who are on the resilience team, others who maybe need to bolster their resilience some, which is what I want to move to. And I want to drill down a little further on this resilience assessment. Your resilience score and those 5 categories correspond to this: your confidence, your competence, your connection, and your character, right? So those 4 categories, those first 2 questions were about your confidence. Questions 3 and 4 about your competence. Questions 5 and 6 were your connection. 7 and 8 were your character. Your confidence, questions 1 and 2, how much do you believe in your own ability to succeed? Your competence, how adaptable are you? Questions 3 and 4. Your connection, how much do you seek? Is it available to you to connect with other folks and get support when you need it? Your character is your purpose. How purpose-driven do you feel? How goal-driven do you feel? Is that clear to you? So when you think about your own resilience, you have to think about this in these categories. The 4 C's: your confidence, your competence, your connection, and your character. And what are you doing to nurture those things? That's what I want to get to talk about. Self-care isn't selfish. Self-care isn't selfish. We take care of other people as interfacing with the public in our professional careers. We have to take care of ourselves to be able to do this, to be able to do it competently. So self-care isn't selfish. It's important. We know we're facing stress. We can expect to face stress. We have to find ways to cope with stress. What I'd like you to do is put up in the chat some ways that you do self-care, and then I'm going to talk in general about some ways to do self-care. Not sure how many people we have in the room today, but it would be fantastic if people would put up what they do for self-care, and maybe some others will get some ideas about how they can also use that same thing for self-care. I myself am a huge walker, walk every day, get in at least 4 miles a day. I've already walked this morning. When I get off of this, I'm going to go out and finish my walk because I didn't get my 10,000 steps in. But I'm going to, as you're putting up in the chat, close to your devices. Oh, somebody said the beach. That's me too. I'm going to talk about some ways to do self-care and see if these connect with any of the ways you do it, but I'm going to do it and show you how they align with those 4 C's. So, confidence. What do you do for self-care? Your self-care might be about physical things, having a healthy diet, exercising, sleep. I saw that already. I see yoga over there, scheduling and maintaining medical appointments. When you take care of your physical self, you feel more confident. You present differently. So it's important to think about how physical self-care connects with that first C of being confident. Oh, listen to music. I love that one. Confidence. What do you do for your self-care? Practice positive self-talk, reframe anxiety, take a mental health day. Practice positive self-talk. So when something goes wrong, and it will, do you go like, oh, dang, I made a mistake again. I knew I do that. I always mess up. Or do you go, all right, that was my bad. I goofed. Let me see how I can do this differently. Let me see who I have to go and correct to. Let me, go and express my humanity, my apologies, and move on, right? Can you positive self-talk? Can you reframe your anxiety and not be like, I am so anxious, I can't move, I can't breathe. Can you reframe it? Okay, feeling nervous. I know I'm nervous. What can I do to woosah? Where can I take myself to woosah? What friend can I call? What beach can I go to? What can I look at that brings me down? Do you take mental health days when you need to? All of these, your competence, how flexible are you? Can you flip? Can you see stress and make it desserts? Connection, taking care of your social emotional health. This means being genuine to yourself, to others, talking, making connections with people. Sometimes it means being still and listening to other people. Sometimes it's plugging in, sometimes it's unplugging, right? Like the C's are interconnected. We need to connect with people. Sometimes we need to have a moment too. Oh, I see meditation up there. You are read my mind. Character. Remember, character is your purpose. So do you attend a religious service that helps you with your character, your purpose? Doesn't have to be religious. It could be meditating. It could be praying. It could be fasting. There are many ways to express your spiritual self, to nurture your spiritual self. My point is your confidence, your competence, your connection, and your character all need to be nurtured in some way, purposely by you, to deal with stress, to bring down your burnout. So you have to purposefully think about how to do that. And then how to take your resilience to the next level. I have this. Creating a more resilient you, this Ikigai. This is a Japanese word, and I feel like I'm mispronouncing it because I don't know if I've ever heard it. I've never heard a native speaker say it, but that's you at the center, right here, of all of these things. What you love, what you're good at, what you're paid for, what the world needs. You living your best life are at the center of all of these things. So with my remaining moments, don't have to write this down. You can put it up in the chat if you care to, or we could talk about it when we get to discussion. But I want you to think about for yourself, 2 things that you love, 2 things that you're interested in, you love, they make you feel good. What are those 2 things? I love to read. That's my thing. I love to be outside. I love to be on the beach. Love to be with my family, right? Things you love. What are you good at? Give me 2 things. What do you love? What are you good at? Park with my son, food. I'm with that. I'll come with you. Doing my art and craft. Lovely, lovely. What do you love? What are you good at? Think in those 2 categories. What do you love? What are your interests? What are your interests? What are you good at? What are your strengths? What are your skills? When you get it in your head, what do you love? What are you good at? You see how they intersect right here in the Venn diagram? That's your passion. Right there, you found your passion. If you can identify what you love and what you're good at, where they intersect, where they overlap, where they meet, that's your passion. I'm going to go counterclockwise and ask you, what do you think the world needs? Answer for yourself. What does the world need? I'm an environmentalist, and anybody will tell you. I think we need to be thinking about our environment. What do you think? What's it for you? You know what you love. What do you think the world needs? When you figure out what it is that you love, and for yourself, what you think the world needs, where they intersect, the space right here, that's your mission. That's your mission. So you can figure out what your passion is over here. What do you love? What are you good at? What do you love? What does the world need? Where they intersect, that's your mission, right? We're trying to get to a more resilient you. So you're thinking about this, thinking more globally, figuring out your passion, figuring out what your mission is, and then doing things to fulfill that. Finally, down here, what are you paid for? Well, I'm paid to teach and research and do community service. What are you paid for? How about you? What are you paid for? Once you have all of these filled out now in your own head, so what the world needs, what are you paid for? This, where they intersect, that's your vocation. This over here, what are you great at? What are you paid for? Right here, where they intersect, that's your profession. So now you have information about what your passion is, what your mission is, what your vocation is, what your profession is. Whole picture. Want to pull it all together. We, as in the service that we do in our careers, we experience stress that can lead to burnout. We can expect that. We have to find ways to cope with that. How do we cope with it? How do we become resilient? We have to think about how we nurture, purposefully nurture our confidence, our competence, our connection, our character. Pull out bigger. Think about your whole self. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? What are you paid to do? How do you express your passion, your mission, your profession, your vocation? Doing all that, you'll be the best you can be. You will have successfully raised your resilience, taken your resilience to the next level, created a more resilient you. Questions?
All
know.
righty. Any questions for Dr. Allen? Anyone, feel free to chime in. I see a lot of comments in the chat. Let's hear them. If you can make those comments verbally, let's hear let's hear your voices.
Well, I see. Could you put the chart back on the screen? I sure can.
Yeah.
This
I
one?
was gonna ask the same thing if you can put it back up. And in listening to you talk this chart, I've never seen this chart before, and it's really, really good. And it for me, it's like I could see where if one part is out of balance or out of whack, or like you try to focus more on one versus the other,
Mhm.
that's where that stress can come in too. So it's kind of
Right.
like, a balancing act to make sure that everything kind of aligns and works
This,
together.
this is true. This is true. And this is part of the human experience. We're all constantly like tinkering with ourselves, and things get out of whack and get out of balance. So it's the journey, right? Not the destination. So we're always moving things around as things happen in our life. And it's such a good point. And to recognize that since we're all trying to get there to that center place, and you're always balancing it, that's okay. Forgive
Mhm.
yourself and be kind to other people as they too would too.
Right. Yep. And then we get so focused on what we're paid for, hence the stress. And then we neglect the what do we love, or what are we good at, or what do others need? And we're so focused on our jobs and giving in that area.
Oh, you are singing the song of human service workers, right? This is so true, right? I mean, we're not doing this necessarily for money, because something else pulls us to these career paths, and then you get so focused on it, or so focused on the everyday, that you forget about pulling back and doing the bigger picture. But it's a disservice to the folks we serve too, because we have to be well to give our most competent service, right? So you have to take care of yourself. It's not selfish. You have to.
Exactly. Thank you for this.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. They can't pay us enough for what we do. No, we're golden. And this, in the VI, we really are incredible, y'all. No kidding. When you think about that, we got through as a community 2 Cat 5 hurricanes and then got slammed with COVID, and here we are. We're something. Pat yourself on the back. We're something. So you have to that acknowledge your strengths, right? Give yourself credit for it. Forgive yourself when you goof up. Have the flexibility to see that you're both things. You're perfect and imperfect.
Excellent. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes for Dr. Allen. Any other comments? All right, so I haven't heard any. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask one question for a prize. For those of you who were on yesterday, we gave a few prizes away. And of course, I'm hoping that those of you who are here were paying very close attention to all of what Dr. Allen had to say. Our question is gonna come straight out of something that Dr. Allen just taught us. And I know that we're all inspired by what she said. So the question is, if someone can put this quickly in the chat, you will definitely be the winner of a prize. What are the 4 C's of resilience? Someone please add that in the chat, and the first person to add all 4 will win a prize. All 4 at once. Put all 4 of them at once, not just one. Let's see it. All right, I think we have a winner. I think I saw, so we definitely have a winner. Let me see who that winner is. If someone else can help me for the first
I
person.
think it's Anasha, if I'm saying it correctly.
Okay, Anasha is the winner. Congratulations to Anasha. So you will be writing your name down, and you will be given an additional prize. Do we have time for another prize, Anna, do you think?
Yes.
Okay, so awesome. So we're gonna go into one last prize for this segment. And for that one, I would like, for this one is gonna be a little more tough, a little bit more difficult. Could you name at least 2 characteristics of resilience based on Dr. Allen's presentation? 2 characteristics of resilience. All right, we have a winner. I saw someone just, awesome. I see that you guys are listening, you are attentive, and you've also picked up everything that Dr. Allen has been sharing with us. So let's figure out who is the prize winner here. I've seen a lot of people, but who was the first person to answer that question? Dr. Hendrickson or Dr. Clark, could you help me out on that?
It
I
seems
believe it's
like
Say that again.
Talia Bryan.
Talia Bryan.
Talia. I'm sorry.
Okay, so which one was
I
first?
may be
Was it
saying it correctly.
Talia. I think it's Talia Bryan. It is-
Kalia Bryan? Okay, so
Talia.
Kalia Bryan will receive a prize. Congratulations to Miss Talia. Okay, thank you, Talia Bryan.
I apologize. If I misspelled.
Okay, so Talia Bryan will receive the second prize within that segment. Congratulations to you both. And thank you so much, Dr. Allen, for your wonderful presentation. We thoroughly enjoyed it.
I will be.
That was
I
excellent,
posted
y'all.
the-
But thank you.
I posted the for feedback for us on Dr. Allen's presentation. I posted it. Posted the link. I will post it again. So please take some time to complete the feedback survey. And thank you again, Dr. Allen.
Thank you. This was fun. Love talking to my people.
All right, so I think we can go straight into our second session, keeping the momentum going. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Clark so that she can introduce our second segment.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. We had some great information presented by Dr. Allen. Once again, thank you, Dr. Allen. Our next segment is going to be on coping practices, mental and emotional health. This is important because we know how to handle stressful situations, but most times this may present a challenge for us. So having this information is very valuable. We have two for the price of one. We had these two dynamic presenters yesterday, given their presentation, and we brought them back again today. So I have the pleasure of introducing the first presenter. Her name is Mrs. Sharon Ross Donaldson. Mrs. Ross Donaldson is a licensed clinical social worker who serves as the CEO and president at the Center for Health Equity, Inc., where she oversees all operations of the CHI. She is the project director and principal investigator of the Gadsden County Federal Healthy Start Project. She oversees the activities of the Brother to Brother Project and has clinical oversight of the CHI Behavioral Health Center. She has worked extensively in the areas of maternal child health, behavioral health, and racial disparity in health outcomes, with an emphasis on community-based networks models that address inequities found in health, mental health, policies, systems, communities, schools, and at the individual level. She has over 30 years of experience in the field of health and human services, including program administration, operating businesses, training and curriculum development, program planning, development and implementation, research evaluation, and data collection, along with community organization, understanding of multi-level systems, clinical supervision, mentoring, and motivating people. She is a national trainer for child-parent psychotherapy. She is also a rostered child-parent psychotherapist, trained in moving beyond depression, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing specialist, EMDR, infant mental health, and she's also a certified mental health first aid national trainer. She is an adjunct professor at Florida State University in the College of Social Work. Her teaching has focused on child welfare practice and seminar practice field experience. She has served as a national peer reviewer on the Council of Accreditation, Prevent Child Abuse America, Healthy Families America, a Hague evaluator, and a reviewer for the United States Marine Corps. I will give Dr. Hendrickson the floor to introduce our second presenter who will present with Ms. Ross Donaldson.
Happy to do so. The second half of the dynamic duo is Ms. Katrina Boone. Ms. Boone serves as Director of Field Education at Florida State University in the College of Social Work. She is responsible for managing the field education program. Ms. Boone develops and facilitates planning and field educator training to prepare students and community partners for the internship experience. She works hard to develop and maintain robust internship experiences for the next generation of social workers. Her training encompasses self-care, identifying areas around burnout, and how to identify and address burnout. In addition, she also serves as the president of the Florida Field Directors Consortium and chair of the BPD Field Committee. Ms. Boone is passionate about social work education and strives to build a bridge between academia and community partners. Welcome, Mrs. Boone. Welcome, Mrs. Ross Donaldson and Mrs. Boone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Henderson. We are happy to be back again. We're so happy that y'all had us back twice. So when Dr. Clark didn't call us last night to say, okay, thank y'all so much. You know, we enjoyed it, but guess what? We are good. That means that we might have done something okay. So today we want to continue and hope that we still can have some impact. First of all, we are very thankful to be invited to this. Yesterday, when we first started, we mentioned that we knew Anna because we've done some stuff, because we are also a part of NASW Florida. And NASW Florida, your chapter, the Virgin Islands chapter, is connected with our Florida chapter. So that's where we first had the opportunity to come down and do some work with your NASW chapter. I forgot to mention this yesterday, which was so important. And the previous presenter said, oh, I love presenting because I love working with our people. And I wanted to say, I really am your people because I lived in St. Croix for a number of years. I lived in Christiansted. And my family is from Antigua and St. Kitts. So I wanted to add that in to say that when I say we truly enjoy this, it is because you all, this heritage, this history, what you all have, I'm a part of that history too. I wanted to put that right on out there. And Katrina was adopted in through Anna and the wonderful people through NASW. So I just wanted to say that. And just one more plug. Y'all know we're having the NASW conference in June in Orlando. And we would love to see as many of you all attend as possible because it's going to be a great conference. So with that being said, my shameless plugs, without further ado, what we are going to do is we are going to continue. You know, we had an opportunity to get on the very end of the previous presenter and what she was saying. And, you know, with the environment that we are currently in, with so many things constantly happening, and with things that are constantly happening to the families and the individuals that we serve. I don't know about you all, but with the work that I do, I often say, I think I have heard every story, and then a new story comes in, a new situation comes in, a new story of some kind of traumatization that has happened to a family or multiple families, or even when doing the work, you find out it's very generational. Well, we as the workers, as the people out there hearing these stories, it's like packing bricks on top of each other, and we pack that on top of ourselves. And, you know, from being in this field, you know, we know things along the lines of what compassion fatigue looks like. And that refers to, you know, those emotions and the physical exhaustion that comes from professionals who work from a place of hearing the stories, of helping people, of putting a lot of the emotions and so forth in the space of the work and in our own personal space. We carry that. And so we get to a point where we're carrying it so heavy that sometimes it feels like we could just drop off of the side. You know, like when you're at the beach and you're in the shallow part of the water, and then you go to the part where it's really deep and boom, you step and you can drop down. It almost feels like that. That's what we carry in this work that we do. The other thing that we carry is the vicarious traumatization of just hearing those stories. And that kind of happens when we hear it and we hear the view of the world that these families that we work with, these communities that we work with, the things that they have experienced. And then from hearing that, we have sometimes a shift in our view of how we view things in terms of those experiences that the people have had, another layer that we put on top of ourselves that we carry. And then we have secondary trauma. And that, you know, that occurs when you are just exposed to so much of someone else's trauma that, again, another brick is laid upon us. And so, as the previous presenter was talking a little bit and talking about the self-care piece and how it's so important, we want to talk about not only the self-care, but what are some of the strategies that what are the things that we use to cope? But we want to talk about, for this window that we have, how do we cope with a focus, with a lens on self? Because now our lens in doing this work, I call it, we have some lens. We have the tunnel vision lens, where we are in the work, running the race, hoping to get the work done. And sometimes we miss our peripheral lenses. We're gonna look and we're gonna talk about, how do you cope with a focus on self? And so we're going to move you through a process of the one thing that I know about the people doing the kind of work that we do, like all of us, is that sometimes we are always put on the back burner. The one thing that I know is that I can see how I can help everyone else, but I don't see how I help myself. Today, we're going to talk about, how do we focus on that? And we're going to process through what that looks like. So let me pull up my screen. Okay. Can you all see this? Katrina, can you see it? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And Katrina, as I'm talking, if you, because you know I can't see the chat, if you monitor the chat, that would
certainly will.
And then we will definitely have conversations around this. Okay. So this lens is going to hold you accountable. This is what we call our accountability lens. So let's start. So here is something that sometimes this is where we talk about the taken for granted. Our mental, emotional, and physical energy. That is something that it is not a luxury. It's not a, oh, you know, maybe one day I'm gonna go ahead and start me doing some exercise. Maybe one day I'm gonna go and just, take some deep breaths. Maybe I'm gonna start, instead of getting that milkshake and that hamburger or those French fries, sometimes you get that soothing food that helps you comfort yourself as you do the work. I'm going to do that because I'm just really stressed. Taking care of ourselves is not a luxury. Taking care of ourselves is a responsibility. It's a responsibility to yourself. It's a responsibility for the work that you do, particularly in our field. It's a responsibility. And it's a responsibility to the people that we care about. And the people that we care about, we have two sets of people. We have the people that we do the work with, that we care about. And then we have our families that after we do our 8 to 5, or the reality is in this kind of work, it's never 8 to 5. I don't know about you all. My work is like from 8 to 8 sometimes, and 8 to 2 in the morning, just depending on what the situation is. So within that context of that work, it is our responsibility to make sure that as we do the work, that we're not working from a leaky glass. We're not working from carrying that brick of that vicarious trauma that we never got to purge out of our system. We have to make sure our glass is not leaking. We have to make sure that as we do this work, we are doing this work from a place where our focus and our lens on self-care is from our glass that is all the way full. Yesterday, when we were talking, we mentioned a little bit about giving from our overflow.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 questions that I always say, when we begin to do self-work, we have to do our own assessments. We know how to do assessments on everybody else. I don't know about y'all. I do biopsychosocial, behavioral health, you name it. I have done every assessment under the sun. But when we think about self-care and when we do it through a focus of just looking at us, and the previous presenter said, yeah, be a little selfish. We're going to talk about being selfish. We have to do it where we ask 3 questions. How is my emotional, mental, and physical energy glass right now? So what we want you to walk away with is always viewing this as a glass. You see your glass. Where are you at in your glass? What has been unnecessarily draining my energy today? And when we think about self-care, we talk about self-care as we do other things, as we work with folks that we work with, baby steps. So we're going to talk about today. We're not going to talk about what has been draining my energy for the last month, because I don't know about the rest of you all, but as we become finer in age, sometimes we can't even remember what we ate last night for dinner, much more last month. So we look at what is it that has been unnecessarily draining for my glass today, and can I do less of that? And what can I do to fill my glass back up? Because again, you all see the spillage on this little screen here of this overflow. That's where our work is done best, when our glass is full and we are taking care of ourselves. And our overflow, now that I'm full, my overflow, I have got the best of energy that I'm going to be able to provide as we do our work. But for us, we got into this profession because we have this passion, we have this love for this work, we have this desire to help other people. And so for us, here is an issue that comes up. We have a hard time saying no. We have a hard time saying no. I have a priority where I am putting myself first in a practice of something that I need to do for myself. So, a note to self: practice self-care means that sometimes you have to say no so that you have the energy that is needed to do what is most meaningful and what is necessary for you.
How many of you
have to be able to say no. Katrina, what
Yeah,
were you saying?
I wanted to kind of jump in real quick and just ask, how many of you struggle with saying no? When you get to that filled capacity, is it easy to say no? It is not. So how many of you are struggling with that? Because these are some of the things we really want you to start thinking about in terms of how to protect your time. And that's something that I've learned over the years, that from one of my colleagues. He is very protective of his time. And I noticed how he is able to manage his workload because he thinks about what he has planned for himself on a daily and a weekly and a monthly base. And it actually continues to allow him to maintain. And he's learned how to say no quite easily. I'm still working on that, and it's a work in progress, but it's something that we really have to focus on, because at some point in our lives, when we are, as Sharon has said, we're giving back to clients, to students. When do we actually stop long enough to think, I'm at a point where I can no longer keep up at this pace and still be as effective as I want to be? And then to be there for yourself, your health, and your family. So learning to say no should continue to be a daily plan.
And Katrina, as I look in the chat, I see me. I see hands raised in terms of the difficulty. And and I know that it becomes, it is a really difficult thing. Because when you think about, and I love what the previous presenter said, we didn't go into this job to become millionaires.
Right.
If you all, I just want to know, if you all have found the secret as to how to become millionaires doing this work, we want to share that at the end so the rest of us can live and get the wealth. Most of us have gone into this because we love people and we want to do something and make a difference with people we're serving, make a difference in the communities that we serve. And as a part of that, we don't know how to say no. We don't know how to protect our space. Now, I'm going to tell you what we do know. We do know how to teach people how to protect their own space. We do know how to teach people how to make themselves a priority, but the difficulty sometimes comes in when we have to make ourselves a priority. So learning to say no is an essential piece of what we have to learn how to do. I'm gonna go back to this next one. And I know when I hit this, we're gonna hit home really well. And know that we're all in this together. So here is, I call it, this becomes the doozy when it's time to say no. How many people feel guilty when you have to say no? You feel like you got multiple feelings, like, one, if I don't do it, who else will? So we got that. So we loading it on our backs now. We done got the superhero S on our chest, and we're gonna load. If I don't, who's gonna do it? If I don't, what does that say about me as an individual? But really, we got to be able to work through this guilt. And so here's the thing. This is some of the things that I know. These are ways of coping with our own self-care, doing our own therapeutic processes. Write a no guilt self-care. Take back your own brain script. As we teach people in doing our work, whether it's therapeutic work or whether we're working with our teams of people, we always say we want to teach so it becomes muscle memory. It's an automatic thought that comes in. We love teaching muscle memory because we know muscle memory is the best way to change a process, to come up with new things. Well, we have to do that for ourselves with those tapes that's already in our head. So make a list of ways your self-care can benefit other people. Because, with this whole thing about taking care of self, you have to believe it. It can't be lip service. You have to believe it. So we start by doing things like writing our brain script. We're going to make a list of the ways your self-care will benefit other people, how it benefits my family, how it benefits my job, how it benefits myself, how I am feeling better, and how I'm not going to feel guilty. We're going to write a short talk back brain script that you read to yourself whenever your brain tries to make you feel guilty. Whenever your mind says, because you'll say, okay, I'm going to say it. I remember we went to that training. They said it. We have to learn how to say no. We have to learn how to say no. And someone comes in and you know you got this schedule, and you know you have these things to do. And then you go, well, it probably won't be that bad. It probably could fit in. Write yourself this thing so you could read to yourself. When my brain tries to tell me, or that guilt on one shoulder versus the other, well, you can do it. And sometimes we do want to do it because we do have that S on our chest where we say, I think I could fit it in and do it, even though we do it at the risk of really hurting ourselves. Write yourself that thing as to why are the reasons when my brain tries to tell me to go forward, what are the reasons that I say no? And this is because for myself, for my family, for me to be the best provider I can be in doing this work, this is why I have to say no. Stop.
Okay, we have a chat entry. We have a chat entry.
Okay.
We have someone asking, how do you say no to a supervisor who asks you to take on the responsibility of a colleague who has resigned?
Oh, hold on one second. Oh, I didn't even know I could make my little thing so fat. Okay. Okay, let me pull myself back out. I'm gonna stop this share. I love questions when coming up. Okay, so here is something. Who asked that question, Katrina?
It is Ms. Henry. Is it?
Okay.
Or Dada
Is it
Henry?
Okay. Oh, okay, Miss Henry. Okay, so now remember, self-care, and when we think about focusing on a focus on self, when you think about within an organization where you are working, that becomes a organizational kind of discussion in terms of when, and I'm just going to speak from being a CEO, when someone resigns from the organization and the families or the people that we're serving, the work continues and it still has to be done. And so what most of the time happens is until we're able to get someone else to fill a position, I call it the wealth of the work begins to be spread, and we all have to take on different types of responsibilities. But in that taking on of the different types of responsibilities, we should also be in dialogue with whomever has asked me to take on those responsibilities, to let them know what I can take on for this temporary window until someone else is coming on, and what I'm not able to take on, because as an organization, I know I don't want I know we have a level of liability and accountability that we have for the community and the people that we serve. And if I overwhelm one person without balancing out the need to take on a little bit more until we're able to bring someone in, then I don't benefit the community, the families that we serve, nor do I benefit my employees. That's what I can say in terms of that realm. But know that, so know this too. Within my organization, here's another expectation. We work as a team, and we know if someone leaves because they've resigned, we can't drop our community and we can't drop our families. We're going to still serve them. We might not serve them with the same level of intensity because we're spreading their workload amongst other people. So, Ms. Henry, I don't know if that is how your organization operates. I know that I can say that that's how we help to balance that workload piece of that. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I had one more point on this one here of the guilt. Stop saying that you don't have time for taking care of yourself too. That becomes really, really important. So no guilt. Write yourself that guilt-free I'm not going to feel guilty when I have to say no, because guilt really does play a role often in what we do in terms of why we can't say no and why we say we don't have the time to take care of ourselves. Okay. Okay, Ms. Katrina.
Okay, so as we keep moving through what we can do in order to take better care of ourselves, we're looking at steps to fueling up your day. What energy? How can we get this energy going? How can we make sure that we are working at a capacity that meets the needs of the folks that we're working for and with, but also to meet our own needs? You know, do we need to schedule things that actually allows us to take a breath, to just sit for a moment? So we want to look at one of the things that we feel like is going to be very helpful is making a list of as many things as you can think of that can be realistic. And that's the key. What is realistic? In 10 minutes a day to help you fuel your emotional, mental, and physical energy. You know, for myself, when I think about the work that we do, just the pure emotions oftentimes that goes into our practices is very draining. I can only imagine as you guys are working with different families and individuals, what they come in with sometimes is they're in such a crisis mode. It takes everything that you have, I call it your toolkit, your toolbox of all of your skills. It takes everything, but it leaves you emotionally drained. So it's really important to take that 5-minute or 10-minute break after that, if at all possible, so that you can kind of put yourself in a different mindset to allow you to just take a break, take a moment. Having those kinds of challenges, whether it's working with people, working with deadlines, doing big projects, that mental energy is there, is lost, and the physical energy. You want to maintain a pace. So if you have to, schedule in 10 minutes. It might just be during the day. If you're like me sometimes, I'm eating lunch at my desk at 2:00. Well, that's not the healthiest way. But if you can schedule yourself out of that during that lunch break, that you just take 10 minutes of just quiet time. I oftentimes take 10 minutes and I'm just doing deep breathing, or I'll turn on music for those 10 minutes. I won't answer my door. I won't answer my phone. And I try my hardest not to even look at an email. So you have to force yourself almost to start this process and to do it consistently, because I think that's where we get lost. We start things, we understand that they need to happen, but then we kind of slowly disengage because of other people's needs. And again, if we can't be in a spot that we can actually continue to give at our best capacity, we're still having this loss of time for ourselves and the folks that we're working and dealing with. What times, and then when times come for your daily fuel, do it. If it's, you scheduled it, do it. Make sure it's happening. Someone just talked about in the chat, breathing in and out 20 times, inhaling and exhaling. Yes, it actually reduced a lot of great releasing, and something that I've started doing with my class, because the students that I'm working with this semester, they're all in their internships. So every class period, we do a guided imagery as we start, just so they can kind of release some of their daily stressors and their push to get to class and to work. And that was something that as a class, they collectively said, we need this. So we take that first 5 minutes of class, and that's how we start class, to give them that additional fuel that they need to finish up their evening. Sharon?
So I'm gonna pull us back, Katrina, to the big screen. We're gonna do a little exercise. And this exercise always just tells the story. So, you know, for everyone here online, how many people can honestly say that they, on a regular basis, do self-care? And what regular means is consistent. That doesn't mean you do it once a month, but that means like you're doing it at least. We know you got to do it at least 3 times a week, consistently doing something where you're taking care of yourself, and really even more if possible. Okay, I see I take time to pray in the morning before
Yeah.
starting my day. So do I, sister. I
Yes.
am with you. Yes.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Pop some more stuff in the chat. Okay, some people will raise hand. I pray and I exercise and I do crafts. I do daily walks. I love it. I cannot say that. Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so let me just ask you all this, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to jot this down. This is one of those little, those testings in terms of, if we really do this, you really should be able to, like with a snap of my finger, be able to just spit some stuff out. This is what I want you to think about. I want you, and I'm gonna give you about, not giving you a long time because this is about you. I want you to think about and write on a piece of paper and tell me how many you were able to write now. Think about, tell me 10 things that make you smile inside. Ready, go. It's a simple question. What are some things, and you know what it means, the inside, make you feel good, things that make you smile? Somebody has my family, love it. But I want you to write a few more. My son, my daughter, sunset, sunrise, kids, hear my grandson call me, my son, my family, when I wake up, family, food, and music. Miss Newton, I'm gonna come down and see you because those are all my things too. Life, awakening in the morning, family, children, praying, music. Okay, my health.
Very important.
Okay, so that is, you know, as we think about this focus on self, we have to do, you know, I can tell you, we're doing a little assessment, a little evaluation of our own on what this really looks like. Okay, here is another question I have for you. So when you think about, you know, those things that make you smile, now I want you to think about, what is the frequency of your connection with those things? Waking up, walking, and praying. I'm hoping waking up is something that we've done all this time for us to be here together. But the other pieces, it takes consistency. Oh my God, the person put shopping. I love her too. But what is the frequency in enjoying that time with your family, listening to the music, strengths, accomplishment, praying, and gratitude? I see you, Miss Williams. What is the frequency that you're allowed to make those connections to do this? Morning devotion, daily. Okay. Okay. So as you think about those things that make you smile, you know, where Katrina was just talking about in the presentation, where she said, what is it that you can do and put it in just a 10-minute window of your day as you think about refueling of those things that make you smile, whether it is taking, and I love that she used realistic, taking 10 minutes, maybe to speak to do the FaceTime with your grandson, taking 10 minutes to listening to your music. And I love what Miss Katrina said, I eat at my desk and I say, I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to look at the email. I'm going to just focus. At one time, I know Katrina had told me she would just listen to some music that she enjoyed. Those things that make you smile and make you feel so good inside are those things where you could fit into your 10-minute window during the day to practice your fueling up. That's what we want you to think about. Okay, Katrina. Katrina, you see anything else in chat that you want to say?
Just a lot of really great things. Meditation. Someone indicated that at work, sometimes they stop and think about things that make them smile, or remembering good times, which is always having those memories are definitely things that bring a smile to your face, being able to wake up. So areas that we've all kind of talked about, being able to gain information. And earlier on, I saw a couple people talk about structuring it being important to them. So I'm assuming that means that they are scheduling and processing things that really make a difference for them.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so as you think about those things that make you smile, we're going to go over some stuff, because remember, this is about really using that lens to focus on you, and then being able to put it into action. So this is not just, as I say, this is not just lip service. So I'm going to let Katrina talk about this next slide.
We really have to learn how to be selfish in these instances, because it will basically allow us more longevity. So we do want to look at the fact of, we don't want to deny ourselves the joy that we have been given. Many of us in the chat have talked about prayer. With prayer, faith actually connects with that. And we have to be faithful enough to what we do to maintain our center of joy. It's never something that we should just kind of frivolously throw away. We need to learn how to embrace it and capture it to make it work for us. So we want you to just think about it and take a moment and ask yourself, does denying yourself joy help you to become a more awesome person, colleague, leader, parent, or friend? I mean, how does that actually fulfill us if we're denying that? Ask yourself that question. Think through that. Joy is something that's very important. It's meaningful, and it has an important part of our human experience. And it's precious. It's precious energy that fuels us and keeps us going. One of the things when I look at this, I think about precious energy. Well, when we can be joy, that energy, for me, that's internal. It is precious because it lingers. And that's what we want, to be able to have this lingering kind of a joy that keeps us in a very good emotional and mental and mental status in our lives. We have to be able to, like I said, embrace the joy and to maintain what that joy is about. Identifying it is going to be critical as we move forward, and learning how to make sure that we're joyful. Everyone brings joy to the office, some when they enter and some when they leave. I'm sure all of us have experienced that. Okay. But how are we going to maintain the joy in our offices? If it's just in your space, put it in your space. But if you can bring that joy and spread it out to others, well, your atmosphere keeps that joyous peace, that peacefulness. Learn how to balance that for yourself, because I really am a true believer in, when people can see your joy, when people can see how relaxed you are, that oftentimes will slow them down enough to keep that negativity from flowing in your direction. And there are times when we realize that negativity is coming, that we have to walk away so we can repurpose our own space. So maintaining the joy is really, really important.
Okay, so I'm going back to the large screen again. We're honing in now. So remember, you just wrote and you told us a little bit about the things that makes you smile on the inside. Here's our next exercise. I want you to think about, and you can think about those things that made you smile on the inside, but now what I want you to think about is, I'm going real selfish, me time. I want you to write down and throw it in the chat. Tell us 3 things that you do for me time. And remember, me time is about you. Me time is not about my husband. Me time is not about, it's not about my grandbaby. Me time is not about other people. For when you think about me time, or have you even focused on, if I said this is what I'm doing for me, then what do I do? Throw me 3 things out in the chat that you do for me time. Spa, walking.
Reiki, okay, reading, meditation, fishing. See, Netflix and Hulu. Yeah, it's nothing like a good show. Journaling is really helpful. It really helps you to get centered. That's really a great one as well. All of these are good.
Movie, spa,
That sounds
reading.
like a major thing. I love snorkeling.
Watching movies, walking alone, shopping. I love the shopping people. I do balance shopping.
Long.
Yes.
Going to the hairdresser. Again, doing things like that. Going to the hairdresser, that's a lot of self-care. That's taking care of that outer person and making sure that because I truly believe in that too. We feel better when we look good, when our hair's done, whatever the case may be.
Okay, so now I want you to hold in that space, me time, of what you like to do. And now, boom, I'm putting on my evaluator research hat to make this an evidence-based kind of practice. So here is my next question that, you know, when we do our research stuff, we call it how we operationalize this. I want you to think about those things that you just put out there and tell me, what of those things that you do for me time, what are the things that you do consistently? Think about it. This is where I say, be honest with yourself. Okay, painting, journaling, and you do that, Miss Williams, consistently? Walking, always on the plane.
And walking daily, so you've put the consistency there.
Go fishing when I can. Reading. Listen to music. Okay, consistently. Okay. So here is something that I'm going a little deeper now. I'm going a little deeper with this. So we talked about, you know, the things that make us smile. We talked about the things that we do for me time. We talked about the things that we do consistently. But I wonder if we identified some things that we do for me time or that we would like to do. I wonder if we identified some strategies that I saw someone said fishing when I can. Are there some things that you would like to do more often than what you do now? Put those out there, things that you would like to do. You've thought about it. Travel. I'm with that person too. I got some people, they want to eat, they want to shop, they want to dance, they want to travel. I'm with them. Travel. We got a lot of travelers.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I love that one that said turn off work. Katrina, can you see who said that one?
It is Talia Bryant or Brian.
Okay.
Turn off work at the end of the day. That is so important. If you can end your day at 5 and it doesn't go home with you, that's really important.
Okay. So this is all in the planning process, of how we're going to move towards really doing this where it can make a difference. So I'm hoping that as y'all are jotting these in, that you have jotted these down on a piece of paper for yourself too. Now, here's something I want you to think about. Are there some things that you've been curious about doing that would be something that you would do in terms for self? You hadn't really done it, but you're curious about it and you say, maybe I'll add that to a strategy that I'll do for myself. Eating healthier and drinking more water. Oh, yes. Okay. Taking a hike. Okay. I'm not going, Michelle, with you.
Yeah.
You're going by yourself, baby. Okay. More crafting. Okay. Horseback riding. Okay. Going sailing. Okay. Skydiving. All right. Okay.
Sounds fun.
Talking with grandbabies. Gotcha. Okay, so now I'm glad. I want y'all to keep that in the frame of mind, and I'm gonna pull you all back into this next slide here that we're gonna talk about how we make this happen. We make this happen. Boom. We call this a self-care bundle. Those particular strategies that you just talked about, we don't just talk about them. We don't just put them in a chat. We create what we call a bundle around self-care. We start when we create our self-care bundle where we say, what do I like to do for me time? This is the first acknowledging. I don't know if when you do work with people and we talk about triggers, this is like a trigger for us to think about what are those things that we like to do. After we think about those things that we like to do, we go back and we review our lists. We review our lists to see what are those things that I've put, what are those things that I haven't thought of in a while that I would like to do for myself, but I just haven't done. So we have our lists, and then we do an assessment, just like I had you all do, of the things that we identified. What are the things that we're doing consistently? Because those are the things, we always work from what people already do, and then we ask them, what are the additional things that we want to add to be done? Which of the self-care strategies are you not doing, but it seems like it's important for you to do? And the importance of the self-care strategies is, what does that bring you when you do those things? That's the key. It's always about you. If you begin to develop some self-care strategies and you begin to do something and you notice that your self-care strategy is more about other people, you have lost the word self in your strategy. And you need to go back to say, okay, I don't know how I got all these people involved, but I need to focus back on myself. What are the ones that you're curious about? And which ones might you try and experiment with? A simple, really operationalizing some strategies that you can create in terms of your own self-care bundle that you can put together. Now, one of the things that we can do is we have this, again, if we were there in person, we would be writing this whole thing out. We have a little template. We'll be glad to send this over to Anna to send out to everyone that's participated, because, oftentimes we know it as we do work. Unless you put pen to paper, we don't necessarily follow through. And you really want to write out your bundle. You really want to write your plan out in order to effectively implement these strategies. Katrina, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. So here's a question I want to pose. Put it out there. I'm going to come back to my big screen because I like to be with the people. Here's a question I want to put out. How many people, based on the simple exercise that we went through, it was quick, it was easy. It started off with assessing, when I think about what makes me smile in the inside, thinking about what are those things. And I always tell people, write down several things that make you smile. Then think about you and what you do for me time. What do you do there? So you're now analyzing those pieces and then looking at what strategies are you doing consistently? What are the strategies that you're not doing that you're thinking you would like to do more? What are those things you would like to experiment with? When you think about these kinds of things, how many people feel like you can actually process through and develop yourself a self-care bundle to do so that you take care of yourself? Show me in the chat if you think you could do this. I mean, this wasn't hard. This doesn't cost you anything except for you thinking about self. Do we have some people that might be willing to do it?
Yeah, we have right now. We have several.
Okay. So here for the several people, and as we think about moving this thing forward, here's some things I want you to think about. When I think about self-care, so this is, if you can, jot these down. We're gonna take some baby steps. Your first thing would be to write down, what will my self-care goal be for this week? I just want you to start 1 week at a time. What will my self-care goal be for a week? Second, I want you to think about this. What is one thing that I will do to improve my health this week? Because without our health, we can't do nothing. So what is one thing that I will do? I want you to put that down. Now, as we do self-care, and as we think about what we do for ourselves, because we know it's going to impact our family, our work, our community, our people that we serve, we also have to think about gratitude. So I want you to think about this too. What is one thing, or you could have two, that you will show gratitude for this week? And gratitude is so important. And then I have one more thing that I want you to think about. This is a part of your bundle and your plan. What is one thing that I will celebrate this week? Because see, that's where we mess up too. We don't celebrate enough ourselves. We don't celebrate enough our accomplishments. We just run the rat race. We're running. We just constantly, and we don't stop. We don't reflect. We don't process those celebrations. If you could start with those 4 things, those are the beginnings of the building of your self-care bundle. No, I love it. Never really stop to celebrate.
Yeah.
We don't. We just continue to work. And again, the field that y'all are in, y'all, we need to celebrate every night. And I don't mean celebrate by going home and drinking 12 shots. I mean celebrating that we've done a good job, celebrating the accomplishments that we've made. And sometimes in this work, what appears to others to not be something of an accomplishment could be an accomplishment because you know the depth of the work that you've done and the change that you've seen. So remember, as we think about healthier is not, I know down in the islands, we got some good Crucian rum. It's not drinking a whole bottle, but we can have a shot or two if that's what relaxes you. But celebrating for what you've accomplished this week is going to be really important. So what we want to say is that within my goal, here's my goal. There is no speed limit in pursuit of your goal. Just make sure you go for it with 100% commitment. That's all that one can ask that you do is be committed to whatever you say that you're going to do. Create your bundle. Your bundle is key. Your bundle is is important. And remember, we always say this, as we do this work, as we do my self-care, what my self-care will be, my self-care goals. One thing, here's what we talked about. What I'll do, one thing that I'll improve in terms of my health, what will I do in terms of gratitude, because we got to be thankful, and what I will celebrate. Always know that your team, and you all are a team there, always remember that somebody's watching you and somebody's looking at how you're taking care of yourself. And with our work that we do a lot of role modeling in our work. And we want people to say, wow, I could see why she's able to talk the way she is. I can see some of the things that she's doing. And for many of us with our clients, you know, our clientele want to know that we practice what we preach. We're telling
That's
you,
right.
take care of yourself, and we're not doing those things. Katrina, were you going to say something else?
Was just saying, yes, we do need to practice what we preach. If we're going to make sure that our clients and people around us are doing what they're needing, we have to make sure that we are following suit so that we can continue to fuel ourselves emotionally, physically, and to maintain our level of mental health and continuing to embrace our joy.
Oh, and I love it. Monique said, just seeing the little baby's face is
Yes.
a stress reliever. Indeed. I love
Yeah.
that little picture. So we want to open it up for you all. We want to open it up to share. What I would love is for some of us to share, some of you all to share some of the things that has really worked for you in your self-care. And how do you keep doing it consistently? Because remember, self-care through the lens with a focus on self, it has to be intentional. It cannot be a passing thought. So with intent, for the folks that has been successful, how have you done it? Let's see. And anyone, if you want to come off screen, if you want to come on screen, and open your mic and share, we're open to that too. Do we have a bunch of shy people? Let's do our favorite thing. We're going to put two of our facilitators on the spot. We're going to start with you, Dr. Hendrickson, and then we're going to go to Dr. Clark. What kind of things do you do for self-care? I know they like, oh my God, no, they didn't do that. But you know, you're the lead.
I like to, one of the great things about living in the Caribbean is plants and fruits and traveling. It's a great thing about it. I'm going to the beach. So yeah, all those things.
Wonderful.
So my self-care is walking, which I'll be doing right here at UVI this evening, as soon as I'm finished for the day. The beach but it's walking in the sand more than going in the water. That's a good workout for me. And of course, going to the spa.
Okay.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. I see that Miss Brian put in, telling yourself, I need to do this, and better doing it. Scheduling is a part of your day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is one of those things with the focus and the attention. You have to make a commitment to say, I am going to be committed to doing it. And you have to start a week at a time. You have to start off where you go through like those 4 little steps in terms of what is it that I'll commit to do for that week, and take it from there and continue to do it and share it with others. You know, one of the things I do consultation calls for people around the state that's doing child parent psychotherapy. And one of my folks that was on a call with me, she talked about carrying, she's a therapist, and she talked about carrying 56 cases on her caseload. And I was like, oh my gosh, 56 cases. So my immediate go-to is, how do you take care of yourself with carrying that many cases on your caseload? And one of the things that she said, she lives down in the Fort Lauderdale area. She said, I am a runner. And what I do is I get up every morning and I run 5 miles, and I love the ocean, and I go and I swim in the ocean. Okay. I'm going to tell you all now, when you share these and you hear the stories of what people do, sometimes those things resonate with you. Then I started thinking, I still talked to you about those 56 cases, because that was too many, and it got to lower some of that caseload down. I was so inspired by her that I said, if this woman could get up and run 5 miles a day and then swim in the ocean every single morning, I feel like I could get up and I could walk 2 miles a day. And I have told her, you have been such an inspiration to me that for the last 2 years now, I get up every morning and I do a 2-mile walk. And it has just made such a difference in my health and my wellness. And again, I always say, we don't want you to do things that's going to cost you a lot of money, particularly if you don't have a lot of money. If you have some money, you can do some stuff that is great, but do things that works for you, and make sure it's about you. When I don't do my walk in the morning, I feel my day feels a little bit off kilter. The other thing that I also think many of us have, we all have these little watch things. I love these watches because they prompt you during the day. At least mine does, to say, move 300 steps. These are things that help us in terms of things that we're doing for ourselves. So keep all of those things in mind as you think about intention and self-care, with a focus on self, not on anybody else, but
That's
on
right.
you. Yes. Ms. Turnbull, I see
Turner.
your hand.
I was gonna say, when you were asking, how do you get into the habit of doing the self-care things? For me, it's doing facials. And I do facials at least once a month. It started off because I had really bad acne, but I realized, like, it's kind of like a mini therapy session, and she does a whole massage thing and all of that. So it's very relaxing. And I think sometimes what happens is, like, you go, or you say that you're going to do these things for yourself, but then you don't put yourself as a priority. So you think of, like, you can do what other things that you can be doing in that time. So it's like, instead of putting yourself as a priority, you kind of, let yourself go, thinking, and putting others and other things, whether it's work related, family related, but to just, like you said, be intentional. Because I realized it might have started off as dealing with my acne, but I really enjoy that time, and I feel so much better when I am done, that I'm able to, do other things and be happy and be joyful while doing the other things. So it's just really about being intentional and not being guilty while you're doing whatever, or feeling guilty while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And like you said, just being selfish, whether it's for an hour, 45 minutes of that time, just really and truly enjoying it for yourself, so that you can pour in to other people.
Right. Yeah, removing all of those distractions and maintaining that consistency. And like you said, not feeling guilty, because you're owed this in order to maintain and to keep yourself in a really great process.
And I love when you said, so you take care of yourself so you can pour into other people.
Yes.
And we want to pour into other people at a place where we're not pouring in from a deficit, and we're taking from ourselves. And something else that I love that you said too, Ms. Turnbull, is find something that you like. I know a lot of people, people have put in that they want to do more exercise. And I think exercise is really good, but find an exercise that you like.
you know, like I love to dance. So I even got this video. I got this thing, Just Dance, on my Nintendo Switch. I said, if someone videoed me doing this Just Dance, they probably would crack up laughing. You know, I talked about laugh therapy. They'll probably crack up because I'm all offbeat, but I am having a blast and it is working, and I'm doing what I love while I'm exercising. So find what you love and do that in your self-care, because you'll continue doing what you love to do. I see J. David with a hand raised.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to share the two things for me that are a must is I have a standing Friday night movie date. So every Friday I enjoy going to the movies, and for me, that's an escape just to get into a movie. To me, it takes me to another world just for that period of time. And it stresses me after having a very rough week at work. And my second thing is church on Sunday. I don't miss church on Sunday for any reason other than I'm in the hospital. Because for me, that spiritual food that I get fed during the week on Sundays takes me through the week coming up. And a lot of times there are things that come across in the message that help me to cope during the week, especially when someone annoys me. It's interesting that sometimes it's something that the pastor just talked about in the sermon. So it keeps me grounded.
Yes, nothing like taking those messages with you throughout the week, because it's certainly, there's always typically a message there for you. I know it's for me too. And, you know, you hear that word and you're right. Something crops up at work and you stop back and think to that sermon and how that grounds you. It's you know, it's definitely a situation where you can stay centered.
And so in closing, we really, really hope that you can forget about others for a moment and really focus on being intentional in taking care of yourself, being intentional in creating your plan. And remember, take baby steps. You know, do baby steps, do it 1 week at a time. And if you slip, just get back up and continue doing it, because we want your thoughts in terms of self-care and what you do to become a muscle memory for you. That just like you get up every morning and brush your teeth and wash your face, you get up every morning thinking, I'm going to do something for me today because I am important and I have to give from that place where my glass is full and I'm just giving from that overflow. Just always keep that visual. That's what I want to give from, is my spillage, my overflow, because I'm giving the best of me at that time. Okay, doctors Clark and Hendrickson, we are done. Are we good with time?
We are, and I'd just like to thank you for such a wonderful presentation. As usual, we're going to open the floor just for a couple questions. And if none, you get a break. We're going to take a 5-minute break for you to just stretch, use the restroom, get a drink, do whatever. And we're going to start promptly at 11:20 with our last presenter for the day. Okay, so I see some messages in the chat just saying awesome, awesome presentation and awesome, timely presentation. Great stuff. Great. Thank you so much, ladies.
You. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you all so much
as well.
And much gratitude to you all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. So participants, take a 5-minute break, and let me set my timer. We're going to be back in 5 minutes.
And feel free to leave a feedback for the second session. I put the link up. I'll do it again so that you have a chance. Please put just give us a little bit of your feedback on how your experiences with the seminar so far. The webinar.
All righty, everyone. We are getting back to our final presentation for today. So we should all be back now. I'm hoping that everyone has returned from our break. Now, have any of you ever had the difficult decision of choosing between completing a job task or a family obligation? So you're choosing between one or the other. Personally, this happens to me all the time. For instance, I have to decide whether I'll attend my daughter's volleyball game, or if I will finish a report that's due in the morning. You know, our final topic, healthy work-life balance, will cover just this. I am happy to introduce our next presenter, Ms. Zelima Webster. Ms. Zelima Webster is a licensed marriage and family therapist, a certified anger management specialist, and a certified Prepare Enrich premarital counselor with a Master of Family Therapy from Mercer University School of Medicine. Ms. Webster has extensive clinical experience working with children, adolescents, adults, couples, and families. Hailing from the beautiful island of St. Croix, Zelima is a multicultural clinician focusing on creating a safe, judgment-free environment to work collaboratively with clients. Emphasizing effective communication and self-care, Zelima encourages her clients to advocate for themselves assertively while respecting others to produce long-term change. As a survivor of a significant natural disaster, Zelima is particularly passionate and experienced in working with individuals and families impacted by trauma. We welcome Ms. Zelima Webster.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. So I am going to start with the presentation. However, you know, I want this to be interactive. So I want people to feel free to chime in when you need to, or when, you know what I mean? Because I'm going to prompt you several times to chime in, because I want everybody to kind of hear what works for you. Because I know a lot of the times presentations are it's just so much information, but sometimes it's hard to make it practical and for it to be a fit for every single person. So I want to hear as much feedback as possible during the presentation. So feel free, if you have something to say or something to share or something to add, definitely chime in, okay? So, well, this presentation is on healthy work-life balance. And does anybody want to share what that means to you? Or what do you think of when you hear about work-life balance, or when you think about work-life balance? Anybody? Okay. So I'm going to start with burnout. What is burnout? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So a lot of the times when you hear people say they have a bad day, having a bad day is not the same thing as burnout. As well as, I don't know if you've heard about, if you're in the social service field or in the medical field, anybody in the service field would hear compassion fatigue. Like, you know, compassion fatigue is when you get drained or exhausted, or you take on some of the issues that you've like heard for the day, as you feel for people and you want to help people. So sometimes that could be draining. But burnout is like that cubed. So when you hear people talk about burnout, it's a very serious state, because that means you have passed a stressful day, you've passed you know, a long day, a complicated day, and maybe some compassion fatigue. And it's now to the point where you're completely overwhelmed, right? Emotionally drained and unable to meet constant demands. Anybody here ever suffered from burnout? No, we have a shy audience. Okay.
They're in the chat room and they're saying, yes, you're getting a lot of yes, 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 yes.
Oh, in the chat, Okay, I'm not
Oh,
I
you should see the
okay.
yes, the yeses are coming in. So
Okay. But also feel free to like unmute yourself and chime in. So signs of burnout. I'm sorry, I skipped this slide. Signs of burnout. Burnout occurs over a period of time, may go through different stages. Signs include sadness, depression, or apathy, easily frustrated, blaming others, easily irritated, lacking feelings, or feeling indifferent, just kind of like, I've seen that before. Sometimes that happens to people in the education field, or like I said, in the social service field, where it's like, I'm so totally drained and burned out that I can't even feel, you know, I don't even know what I feel about this situation because I don't have any feelings left to feel, right? Isolation or disconnection from others, poor self-care or hygiene, tired, exhaustion, overwhelm. Also feeling like you're a failure, nothing you do will help. Just kind of like at your wit's end. You're not doing your job well, or you need alcohol or drugs to cope. Does anybody want to chime in on any other signs of burnout? I'm going to take a look at the chat right quick, okay? Yes, anxiety and severe depression. That's a good one.
Ms. Francis also said this is an experience also for caregivers. So
oh yeah, definitely.
Not being able to focus on work is another one.
Right. Definitely. Okay. So workplace techniques to combat burnout. Limit your work hours. So I know I put this one, and a lot of us, especially if you have a government job, or you're working for an entity, period, and you're not allowed, or you don't have control over your work hours. So that doesn't mean limit like, okay, well, from now on, I'm going to work half day, right? That limiting your work hours means like a lot of us wake up in the morning and the first thing we do, because everything is on your phone, is check your email. A lot of us have Outlook, which is an app where you receive work emails on your phone. You might wake up at 6 a.m. and you're checking your work email. That's a part of work. So really, your work hours are starting before you even enter the building. And then a lot of people also neglect or just forget to take the 15-minute breaks. I think it's a good idea to set a timer for yourself and give yourself a break, right? So you're working on a project, you have this certain thing, you're like, oh, I don't want to get up until I finish this. It's healthier to schedule a break and then come back to what you're focused on, right? Because everybody has the 2 15-minute breaks. Some people have 30-minute lunches. Some people have an hour lunch, but it's important to, you know, make sure to schedule yourself in a way where you're taking breaks, you're taking time to relax, you're taking time for yourself, and you're also being cognizant of not like going home. If you work, because everybody schedules themselves in a different way. But if you're the kind of person who goes into work at 8 a.m., leaves at 5 or 5:30, 6 o'clock or whatever, then when you get home, you shouldn't still be answering work emails, work calls. You have to limit the amount of work in order to have time for yourself and time for your home life, right? Anybody want to chime in on that?
All right, so Dr. Hendrickson just mentioned that putting the app on your phone with your email is actually the worst idea ever.
It really is. It really is. Or if there's a way, because you know, you have some tech savvy people who are able to like, okay, I need to have the app on there if my job is territorial, or if I'm like not always at my laptop, or maybe I want to go home and have lunch at home, but I want to still be available for work because I'm on work time. And so, yes, having the app can be convenient, but maybe if you set like, there's things that you could put on your phone that will like turn off a certain app, make a certain app not available or not be able to send you an alert past a certain time. So I guess kind of doing some research behind that and finding out, you know, how to do those things. It's like, okay, this app has to be cut off by 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Miss Martin put an interesting one. She said she has a do not disturb on her phone. So I guess when that comes up, but then somebody else, Jim McGrath said that they have Microsoft Teams on their phone, which is another app that can be challenging because it allows that accessibility with
right. Right. So it's like everybody's always accessible to you, which is not a good thing. So I like this one, limit solo working time and use a buddy system, set up check-ins with each other, listen carefully, share experiences and feelings, acknowledge tough situations, and recognize even the smallest accomplishments. I think this is so big. I'm really like a big fan of debriefing, you know, after a meeting, after a conference, after a presentation. It could be something small to you, maybe, you know, somebody who really likes to do presentations and it comes like second nature. But for some people, having to build up the courage, having to, you know, just even professors, whoever else, somebody talked about even being a caretaker, being able to have a buddy system for that, talking to other caretakers, you know, and being like, wow, today was a rough day for me. Like, you know, and some people are caretakers of their actual family members, and having a support system, this, you know, the presentation calls it a buddy system, but having a support system period is so important, to have people to kind of bounce your feelings, or even if it's just how you felt about that day, you know, it's very important. And also having somebody to like be accountable or help you to be accountable for setting your boundaries. That's important. I know I work for behavioral health. I have an office, but a lot of the times I'm in here and this is what I do for a living actually, is make presentations. So a lot of the times I'm in here creating a presentation, but then I have to take a break, or then I actually just lift my laptop up and I go in a more common area, bounce ideas off of other people, ask people, what do you think about this? How does this sound? And we may end up in a conversation that's just about like how your day is going, or the conversation then extends. And it's like, that is a mental break from just work, but yet it's still a part of work, and it's still productive. So having that buddy system and those check-ins with each other, and sharing experiences, very, very important. And I know I don't know how many people on here actually like work from home. I know that's difficult when you work from home. That's why sometimes it's important to kind of like, if you work from home, just develop some kind of community around receiving support for whatever it is that you do. Or maybe sometimes just take a peek in the office or around other people, schedule lunches, you know, where you could be interacting with people from time to time, because human interaction is essential. So I have important reminders. Boundaries are okay, and you can say no. Breaks are not selfish. Needs of others don't outweigh your own. Working constantly does not mean you are making your best contribution, right? So when you're going non-stop and you don't take a break, that doesn't mean that that's your best work or that's your best self or you're giving it all you got, because your best self is what's comfortable and healthy, is your healthiest self. So overworking yourself may not be, you know, your best attribute. You are not the only one who can help. So yeah, a lot of the times you have an issue and you feel like, well, if I don't do it, who gonna do it? How many people say that? Here, for sure. I think it's culturally difficult for us to ask for help. A lot of the times we think that, okay, well, if I don't do it, this thing ain't gonna happen, whether I have the capacity to do it or not, whether I'm gonna be able to fully be there for it. I have to push myself just because it may not happen if I don't do it myself. Where do we get that from? I'm going to the chat. Oh, she raised her hand. Okay.
Well, you have a lot of hands are up on that.
Oh, the hand is up for that's me, right? Guilty. And I will say guilty not only at work, but in your home life. Asking for help is so difficult for Caribbean people. I don't know if it's like culturally we come from a small, resilient, you know, we're told to be strong and, you know, kind of community, and it's because it's small, we're like afraid if we ask for help, then somebody gonna talk about us and say, well, she wasn't even able to handle that by herself, you know? And that's sad, because we also preach that we're from just that community. We're from a small place that's supposed to be a close-knit community, which means that we should be of support to one another. And if you're constantly of support to somebody else, then you should be able to accept support, right? And I'm preaching this, but it's easier said than done. Yeah, we were taught it from young, that's for sure. Okay. So I'm gonna go on to workplace techniques to combat, oh no, that's what I just did, I'm sorry. Okay, managing stress. So I know this is a long list of things that you can do to manage stress, which is seek support from family, friends, and colleagues. Many of us have impacted and may be able to relate to what we are going through. So like I said, support is necessary. You have social support, which is like friends. You have family support. You have professional support, which would be like a therapist. And I'll talk more about this at the end of the PowerPoint, but I just feel support is so important. And then you have community support. Somebody mentioned like clergy, like, you know, church and stuff like that. But we will have a conversation about that at the end, because I feel like support is a big part of balance. And so if you haven't identified your support, then it's going to be hard to balance. So help others by sharing time and energy to check on how they're doing. Develop and use healthy coping mechanisms like exercise, relaxation time, enjoying hobbies. Establish and maintain a routine. Like the what's her name? Sharon Ross Donaldson said earlier, what works for you? So establish and maintain that routine of things that work for you. Eat a healthy diet and practice good sleep hygiene. Consider keeping a journal if you're struggling with overwhelming thoughts. Structure your time and keep busy. Continue your daily work schedule and leisure activities whenever possible. Limit consumption of news, which includes social media. Sometimes a lot of us are guilty of just getting up. The alarm goes off, immediately we're on consortium. And that's, yeah, it's not healthy. Okay, because we're feeding our mind with negative information first thing in the morning, not necessarily healthy. So if we could get out of that habit, that would help us at least managing morning stress. Does anybody want to add to this? Because I feel like there's so much more that people are doing, and I would like for people to share with one another how they manage stress, what works. Is somebody raising their hand to speak? Kenny, oh, that's you. Sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with you about that social media because
Oh, okay. I'm still getting hip to the chat emojis on on Zoom, obviously. Right. So anybody want to share what they do to manage stress?
Walk.
Yes.
That's it, the walk.
Beach. I like going to the beach.
Oh, somebody said instead of listening to the news or going out to Facebook or Instagram, which is but listen to music. So
yes, and breathing techniques. Okay. Listen to music, breathing techniques. I would take deep breaths. I would watch a movie. Yes. Oh, Reiki. Somebody does. Oh, that's good. Yoga, Pilates. That's intense. That's awesome. Gardening. Yeah, that's a very healthy one here. Yes, going to my therapist. Reading. Yeah, I noticed reading wasn't mentioned. Yes, those are all really good ones. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So sleep hygiene. Set a schedule. Establish a regular sleep schedule every day of the week. Don't force yourself to sleep. If you haven't fallen asleep after 20 minutes, get up and do something calm. Read, draw, write in a journal. Avoid screens that could lead to becoming more awake. One thing I've learned to do, oh, I think this says it, use your bed only for sleep. Avoid using your phone, watching TV, working in bed. This will allow your body to associate your bed with sleeping. I really like that one. I had my professor in grad school. He used to tell us he doesn't have, and he was married. He was like, I don't have a TV in my bedroom. I don't believe in having a TV in my bedroom because my bedroom is for me to sleep and for my wife and I to be intimate. So it's not for any further distraction. You know, we could go out into the living room if we want to watch TV, you know, and that type of stuff. But he was like, no, the bedroom is our place to be completely relaxed and have quality time with one another. So I thought that was great. The part about avoiding screens that could lead to becoming more awake. So what I've started doing is taking my phone and charging it either in the living room or on the side of the bed that is not close to where I get up. So I would literally have to stand up and walk to get my phone off the charger instead of like rolling over and checking my phone. So I think that's that helps me when I remember to do it. Let me see. I'll also create and follow a consistent bedtime routine. Choose 3 to 4 things to do each night before bed to get your body and mind in the habit of going to sleep. Healthy intimacy is a stress relief. Very true. So listen and watch the news in the morning while getting ready, but I realized it was weighing me down to the point that at times while driving to work, I would be emotional to the point of very, very true. Sometimes, and I hear you say, I had to start listening to music instead. That helped me a lot. Even sometimes I don't even listen to the radio in the morning. Sometimes I don't know. I come in complete silence. Don't force yourself to sleep is what I do. That's good. Exactly. No television at all in the bedroom. Miss Liebert is a fan of that. TV actually helps me to sleep. I totally get that, Miss Williams. For me, I do feel that I have to, even if the volume is not up, like I just kind of need it for like comfort. And then I'll like turn it off when I realize like, oh, I'm really going to sleep now. So those were helpful. TV actually helps me sleep. But I think the sleep routine and the sleep hygiene is super important because as working people, productive people, people who have things to do and ain't gonna do it themselves, I know we think that being busy is the best thing we could do, but you need your rest. Rest and hydration is so important to having the balance in your life. Because if you need energy to be productive and to even, set a schedule for yourself, how are you going to do that without having proper rest, right? So it's not, and most doctors would tell you that whole, when people say sleep is for the weak, sleep when you're dead, and those kind of things, those things are not healthy. You could be successful and sleep 8 hours every day. It's all a matter of how you use your time. So, okay. Oh, I'm always doing that. I'm sorry. 3 parts of self-care. I know you guys just had a presentation on self-care, so I'm going to keep this brief. Awareness. The first step is to seek awareness. This requires you to slow down and focus inwardly to determine how you are feeling, what your stress level is, what types of thoughts are going through your head, and whether your behaviors and actions are consistent with who you want to be. So awareness, being aware of where you are right now versus where you want to be. And when I say that, I don't mean financially, I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. Where are you right now? Do you have racing thoughts? Are you worrying frequently? Do you feel like a failure? Do you feel like you're not productive enough? Do you feel like you're overwhelmed, overworked, not organized? Be aware of where you are right now versus where you would like to be. The second step is to seek balance in all areas of your life, including work, personal and family life, rest and leisure. You will be more productive when you've had opportunities to rest and relax. Becoming aware of when you are losing balance in your life gives you an opportunity to adjust and make changes. Yeah, when you're seeking for a balance, don't seek perfection. When you seek the balance, when you start working on things, you will say, oh, I'm better at these things than this thing. Like, for instance, it's easier for me to get up and walk than it is for me to sleep 8 hours a night. So maybe I'm better at the leisure or at the exercise than I am at the rest. So now I have to make a conscious effort to work on the rest a little bit more now that because it's important when you seek balance to try working on one thing at a time, right? Because if you're working on trying to balance 5 things at one time and you're trying to give them your equal effort, what are you giving them? 20%. If it's 5 things you're working on at the same time, 9 times out of 10, you're giving each thing 20%, or nothing is really getting 100%. So if you work on, hey, these are 3 areas, pick 3 at a time that I would like to work on, but you know what? let me work on this the first 14 days. When I get better at this, then I could incorporate that. Okay, connection, the final step is connection. It involves building connections and supportive relationships with your coworkers, friends, family, and community. And that's the same thing as support. Tips for working from home. We mentioned working from home earlier. Maintain a regular routine, take breaks, try scheduling a mental commute before and after your work hours, and aim to take a brief break every 1 to 2 hours. Designate a workspace, set boundaries with family and friends, get outside, even if just for a few minutes of fresh air, include a hobby or enjoyable activity into your routine. And I think that this is a good one also for the caregivers. Meditative skills to try. Now, we talked about deep breathing earlier. Start by placing one or both hands on the belly and start breathing into the belly until you feel it expand. Start counting your inhale and exhale. I think we should actually do this. Is everybody up for deep breathing right now? A deep breathing exercise? Okay, let's actually do this. So start by placing one or both hands on the belly. I like to do one hand, but you could do whichever feels comfortable for you. That's the best part about meditation. You do it however it feels comfortable. You could be seated, you could be standing. It's just whatever feels comfortable for you. Start breathing into the belly until you feel it expand, right? So breathe until you're poking out your belly. Start counting your inhale and exhale. Inhale for 4, and that's 4 seconds, or 4 counts, and exhale for 6. So let's try that. Inhale and exhale. Also, when you, for the purpose of deep breathing, you inhale through your nose and you exhale through your mouth, okay? So let's try it again. On 3, 1, 2, 3, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And you could do that for as often as you need to. And it's saying to repeat it for at least 10 breaths. So that means that after 10 breaths, you should come to a point of relaxation and being back in the moment. And if that's not the case, just know it's okay if that doesn't work for you, okay? If that doesn't work for you, you can use what works for you. Another one that's suggested is progressive muscle relaxation. So that's where you start with your feet. You start from the ground up. So you start with your feet and tense your muscles of your feet. Then hold the tension for 3 to 5 seconds. So that means you go flex your feet, you go point your feet, whatever it is that you do to feel like your muscle in your feet is tense. Hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, release as you say, relax or calm to yourself. And then you move up to your other muscles. So you do this throughout your whole body to tense your body, then relax your body. And what that does also is bringing you back to you regaining control, right? You regaining control of your own body, your own life, your own breathing. Because sometimes when you're losing balance, what happens is you will notice your speech will speed up, your heart rate will speed up. Your breathing, it gets kind of like shortness of breath. Somebody mentioned anxiety earlier, and that comes along with that as well. And you can find lots of guided videos on YouTube or apps. So there's a lot of apps. There's like Headspace, and there's like meditative apps that you could use. There's another one. I will have to look at my phone to get the other one, but there's really good ones, and you could listen to meditations for free. I think also a good thing that you could use if you want to kind of stray away from like listening to the news, or maybe I don't know, if you're not into music. I'm not really into music to listen, because the music stimulates my emotions. It's going to make me think of a time, or it's going to make me have a certain mood that might not be the mood that I was kind of going for that day. So especially I find like aisle 95, sometimes in the morning, the music is so upbeat. And so it's like very like kind of more hyper for me. I mean, which is good. It gets you going in the morning, but sometimes I want to be in a more relaxed state. So maybe music doesn't work for me, but it may work for other people. So sometimes what I use is like podcasts. And of course, you find the podcast that works for you. There's relaxation podcasts, there's mental health podcasts, they're like comedy podcasts. And so, finding the one that works for you. There's inspirational, educational stuff that, listening to podcasts sometimes, and a lot of them have like experts on there. And so you gain information. Sometimes that's helpful for me, as well as the meditative apps, because I'm not really good at meditating on my own, unless it's a walking meditation. That's my favorite form of meditation, to regain that balance. I mean, as a therapist, obviously I listen to people's issues for a living. So it's hard not to take some of that stuff in. It's hard to cut that off at 6 o'clock and then go home to deal with my 7-year-old, or to cook a meal and relax, because I might still be thinking about what that person is going through, how I could help them better, maybe what I could have said different in the session. We're always our worst critics and over-analyzing and being harsh on ourselves, right? So having that walking meditation is definitely important, and it helps me. I know Dr. Clark is looking at me like, okay, girl, when we gonna go on this walking meditation? However, it does work for me, but it's a matter of scheduling the time to do it, because that's a part of the balance. Is find what works for you, be aware of what works for you and what will bring you to where you want to be in terms of balance, and then making that schedule for yourself. Establishing and maintaining that schedule. So does anybody have any questions so far, or anything else to add, even about the meditation? I will say sometimes we don't realize, as Crucians or as Caribbean people, in our culture, I don't really feel like we don't know a lot about meditation, but really and truly, we've been meditating since childhood, because prayer is meditation. Like I said, the walking is a form of meditation. The gardening is a form of meditation. Just sometimes the whole bush tea regimen that some people have. You wake up in the morning and the first thing you do, put something hot in your stomach and relax a little bit at the table before you do anything else. That is a form of meditation. There's something called tea meditation, where you just sit down with your tea for 5 to 10 minutes and you're just there with yourself, in your thoughts, in your, okay, what is my day gonna be like? Or I know the lady before, Miss Ross Donaldson, she talked about like gratitude. To me, that's a time of gratitude. When you hear like, you know, old people say, well, thank God I was able to wake up, and that kind of thing. That's like that's the praise and the gratitude that they're giving back to the universe. Like, hey, thank God for this tea. I was able to, you know, live another day. I know I always used to hear my grandmother saying that stuff. God spare life. So those types of things, they were already instilled in us. It's already instilled in us to be meditative. I will even go as far as to say marijuana usage is a form of meditation as well for some people. So it's just finding what works for you. Okay. Does anybody have, oh, a long hot shower? Oh, that's a great meditation. A long hot shower and then a little bit of cold water at the end for me. But yes, that is a great meditation. And even sometimes, I know Dr. Clark said, sometimes it's about walking on the beach and not always about going in the water. Sometimes just feeling the sand on your feet, feeling the water, you know, just putting your foot in the water. It's just a nice relaxation, you know, bringing you back to earth type thing, which is meditative. So now what I want to do is close out while talking about support, because, because support is our biggest struggle, in my opinion. So let's talk about support. Like I said before, there's social support, which is friends, family support, which is obviously your family. There's professional support, which includes therapy. It includes your EAP. It includes, what else could be considered professional support? Yeah, your colleagues, your coworker, your supervisor. A lot of supervisors like to say, you know, I have an open door policy, you know? So that's letting you know that they're a form of support. Hopefully they stand by that, but that's a form of support. Community support includes, like I said, your church. Some people are in organizations, which the organizations could be used for both social and community. So the organization itself serves as a community support. So let's say you're in, you know, Greek organization, or I know there used to be something called Generational Now or something like that down here. That's considered like they're a community within themselves, right? The organization serves as a community. Also, nonprofit organizations, their community supports for people. But you know, sometimes when you're in an organization, you might also socialize or find friends within organizations, even as, you know, in professional organizations. If you're, I don't know if like UVI has, or any like government entity, sometimes there's smaller organizations or boards where people have to meet on like a once a month basis or something like that. Sometimes it's in a professional setting. Sometimes it's also kind of becomes a social support, because maybe sometimes they do social events within the organization. What's a good one for that is that organization where, oh gosh, I can't think of what it is, but it's where they get people together once a month and they do like, oh, Chamber of Commerce. That's the one I'm looking for. Chamber of Commerce becomes, it's like a community or professional type organization where people socialize. So does anybody have any feedback on that, on finding your support system?
Somebody before said that that Human Services has a support group for caregivers.
Okay.
Mr. Hodge, L. Hodge, I don't know, said Rotary, Gentlemen of Jones are some great organizations for that, for social.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So does anybody have any questions?
No questions, no answers. Okay, well, since we have no question, was there a question, Dr. Hendrickson? You just said something?
No question there. It's Ms. Hodge. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, since we don't have any questions, we'd like to thank Ms. Webster for her presentation today. Excellent information for us on trying to create that balance between work and home. Thank you again, Ms. Webster. I will take the opportunity to have one more giveaway, well, prize, not a giveaway. And we actually have the winner already. It is the first person to register for our webinar. And again, Human Services reigns. So the first early bird registrant was Miss Loretta Lawrence. Is she on the Zoom with us today? You have to be present, Miss Lawrence, if you're here. Please identify yourself. If not, I can move on to the second early bird registrant. Going once, going twice. Loretta Lawrence, no? Okay. So the second early bird registrant is actually from the Department of Human Services again. And that person is Miss Anasha Emmanuel Abraham. Is she on still? I know she was earlier. Anasha, are you on?
Yes, she is. She is. She just said, yes, I am in the chat.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm tapped out as far as prizes are concerned, so I'm going to turn it over.
I'm here. Loretta Lawrence is here.
I'm going to have to take that prize back from Miss Anasha. I'm so sorry. Miss Lawrence, you took a minute to get on, so I went on to the second person. But I'm sorry.
I put it in the chat.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Anasha.
I think we can find a way to give to both.
To give both prizes? Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, so we have both early bird registrants getting a prize today. Thank you so much, ladies. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Francis.
All righty, awesome. Congratulations to both of you, Miss Lawrence and Miss Emmanuel Abraham. All right, if you have not already completed the brief survey, please do so now. I really would appreciate if you do that. You can find the link in the chat. A few items to cover before we leave. For those of you who received notification that you will receive a gift card, please note that the gift card and any prizes that we just announced will be distributed by March 31st. So please stay tuned. You will receive those. We have had the pleasure to present this webinar series, understanding that frontline workers operate regardless of harsh conditions and harms caused by disasters. We commend all of you for your service in the Virgin Islands and essentially your service to each and every person who resides in the Virgin Islands. We hope that you can take the methods and practices offered today and extend them to improve the quality of your work life. Ensure that you find time to do what makes you smile. Ensure that you maintain your mental and emotional health. Ensure that you have a healthy work-life balance. Thank you to the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado, Boulder, and the CDC for their support of this grant. Thank you to the National Association of Social Workers, Virgin Islands, for partnering with us. We would also like to thank our featured speakers, Dr. Allen, Mrs. Ross Donaldson, Ms. Boone, and Ms. Webster for their expertise. Thank you to all of our 9 participating agencies and organizations. You have truly shown your appreciation to your employees by ensuring that their mental and emotional health remains protected. As a community, we all depend on each other for support daily. Whether you're from Rock City, Love City, Christiansted, Fredericksted, we are united and we are significant. And most of all, we are powerful. This is largely because of the great efforts of you. My colleagues and I, thank you. And certainly it has been a pleasure. Take care.